I'm so hyped for this new Space Marine segment.
Me too.
Welcome to 40k Fanatics, where we talk about stuff about
and
40k.
Things.
Stuff and things and stuff is what we're going to talk about today.
What's up, all you 40k fanatics?
I'm Shane.
And I'm Casey.
And we're just going to get right into it. Open up the bits box. Sound effects are provided by Casey. You can hire him for any sound you want in your own homemade film.
Parties, bat mitzvahs, the whole deal.
He does a really good girl in the throes of it, if you know what I mean. Or so I've heard. And boy, you can hear it too for the low price of all your money. Which, being that you are miniature hobbyists, is next to none. We do realize.
Yeah, don't hire me to paint your minis. Hire me to make funny sound effects. So, Shane, you got anything to talk about in the hobby today?
I got all kinds of things. I have been hobbying my little self to death on Star Wars Shatterpoint because I have created a monster.
You have.
Valerie, shout out to the homie Valerie. She is into Star Wars Shatterpoint to a level that I am not even comfortable with. She's buying all of it. All of it, Casey. Could you imagine if you just went out for... I mean, let's limit it.
I mean, that's what tax refunds are for.
Refund? Refund?
Yeah, the government gives me back my money, and I spend it all on plastic crack.
Well, Casey, I'm glad for you because I wish somebody would just pay what I owe. And her too.
Fair.
We were joking about that. Little story because in this part of the show we get way off base, but we have a neat lore topic for you today for the main topic.
It's one of those bits box that lasts 20 minutes.
That's right. It's our favorite kind, and we figure it's your favorite kind. But a couple of years ago, I was sitting at the bar with a pilot friend of mine. He flew, I think, for American or Southwest. One of the major...
At night? Pre-flight?
Yeah, he's a rocket man.
Was he high?
No, he was drunk.
As a kite by then?
He was as drunk as a drunk pilot, man.
Okay. Well.
He was not flying at the time, but there was a commercial on the bar TV, and it was no money down at so-and-so's used cars, and we'll match your tax refund on a down payment.
Okay.
Or we'll, toward your first payment, whatever it was. And in the way that advertising goes, they said, we'll match your refund no less than 5 times. And he just looked at me and he said, will they pay what I owe? How about that?
That's great.
Yeah, and as a self-employed individual forever,
taxes are fun.
well, there's nobody holding out on mine.
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
So I end up having to pay in, even though I make this tiny gross number.
All you need to do is have a couple kids. There you go.
I guess I'm not.
Couple of grots running around.
I'm not going to do that. But anyway, on to my bits box. She has decided to buy all of the Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff. She's single-handedly buying out the stock at the local game stores.
Gosh.
And I have got a pile of shame that is quite daunting at this point because not only is there a lot of it, but it's all individual character type stuff.
And I'm just going to say this man has borrowed my airbrush for a while.
You're not...
If he's saying he has a pile of shame, that is outstanding.
You're not getting it back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to break this to you. I might have to get you another airbrush compressor for Christmas. Yours may be worn out by the time you get it back. But you don't have an airbrush anyhow.
Yes, that's true. I'm gonna have to buy, and you know what? I've decided if I do, I'm gonna have to buy a good one and not the, as you say, crappy one. Okay,
so
$15 is more than enough. I'm just saying.
$15, it turns out, is not enough. It actually turns out that $100 is not enough. So mine, I have discovered in my research and in my experience with it, my Iwata Neo, which is their beginner.
That's a good brand.
Well, it is a good brand, but it's their beginner level airbrush that they include with like the kits that come with the compressor and everything. And it is a pain in my ass.
What do you mean? Like it breaks down or
what?
It
breaks down constantly. It is constantly clogged.
No.
I did recently get a cleaning kit for it, and that I had a good experience with it the other night. We're friends right now. But It's a constant struggle. I bought another. What do they call it? The little teensy tiny bit that you bent up on yours. The needle actually goes through, and a new needle.
The one I smashed.
I'm just trying everything, man. But if I get 2 continuous minutes of good airbrushing, I'm calling that a success. So. I guess you'll get your compressor back if you ever buy an airbrush, because at that point I'll have no excuse. Because right now my excuse is, what do you need your compressor back for? You don't have an airbrush. And then at that point,
we're going to have a lot of terrain coming at us here soon. Anyway, so
I've recently bought a lot of terrain, so that's a project.
Exactly.
That's a project that I've been working on.
Yes, your table.
Yes, so the table is done. The Frontline Gaming finally came through with
the mat.
The mat looks really good.
Ooh.
We got one of those new designs. I forget what it's called, but it's the green and dark colored one. It looks good.
Yeah, we'll probably post some pics once we get some more terrain for you and show you guys.
Yeah, and so
probably models on the board.
I reached out to all the various homies because I wanted
Which homies?
The homie Nathan. Shout out to the homie Nathan. He had a couple of boxes of Rampart brand modular terrain. Now, I wanted the old school type of terrain that actually has windows and looks like something, not this MDF, tournament style terrain. That stuff looks so terrible.
Shane has been very avid about his hatred of this kind of terrain.
I don't like it, man. I don't like how it's got this, it's so specific in its footprint, and you've got people that want to use the terrain layouts that somebody at Games Workshop threw together in approximately 5 minutes, is what it appears. Because, again, I am fundamentally opposed to known variables in this game. Like, 40k is a game. I don't think, I say it on this podcast over and over, it is not a good outlet for one's competitive nature.
Yeah, don't scrape for points. Don't be gamesmanship. Be sportsmanship.
Play the game. But what I'm saying,
have fun.
What I'm saying is, there's this desire, it appears, to limit as many variables as possible to then make an army build more dependable. Right?
Yeah.
So that everybody knows what's happening, to make it more like chess, where theoretically your moves will matter more. However, that ignores the reality that the game is horribly unbalanced.
And us orc players are just out here having the time of our lives.
I'm just saying, sometimes...
Dependable? What's that mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying that sometimes it would be more interesting to me if you rocked up and the table layout made no sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then shooting armies would just shoot you off the board. Okay.
Fair.
Them's the breaks. Sometimes we'll rock up and there'll be way too much crap. Somebody's pile up a bunch of books and you're calling them line of sight blocking. It's like, well, now I look real good, don't I?
Pretty rough.
I'm just saying you could have both, and I think that's more fun than having than trying to limit all these variables.
I feel like you and me have a happy medium. Our boards aren't busy. They're, they have terrain, but they're not like, I've seen some boards that are like real busy. Like I couldn't get some units through vehicles otherwise. Like, man, I don't know how some people play like that.
Yeah, I'm with it.
What else in your bits box?
In my bits box. So back to that modular terrain. So the homie Nathan sold me 2 boxes of this Rampart modular terrain. And what it is this plastic on sprue, and it's meant to be theoretically magnetized, but it's like straight piece of wall and pillars and little broken pieces of half walls that connect to pillars, and the pillars have peg holes on like all their facings and on both ends, so you can like stack this stuff up high.
Probably help it not fall off the table a lot more too.
355 pieces to cut out, to trim up, and then once you've got that done, which it looked like I had run a skill saw on top of my hobbying table because there were just so many little chunks of plastic. Then you've got this just erector set of stuff, and there's no instructions. It's just make it however you want. And so I glued mine together because that whole modular idea sounds like a good plan, except you might as well have a box of Legos. Okay? In fact, if you think that you want to change your terrain,
Is that your girl's nickname for you?
no, I don't know what you're saying.
Erector set.
No. Do you not remember the erector set?
No, but I just couldn't. I had to make that joke. Welcome to 40k Fanatics.
It's a terrible
where
joke.
we make dad jokes every episode.
Anyway,
Whatever you say, erector set.
but you would literally be better off buying a lot of Legos and building L's and building ruins that way than you would with this stuff, because it was really hard to prepare and to get ready. But I built a giant L, 3 stories tall, to be like a big centerpiece ruin, and then I built another smaller corner. So that you know how you used to do with the old corners, right?
Yeah.
Where you'd set one corner, the other corner, and then those 2 corners make a box, and that's the footprint.
That's the footprint, yeah.
So that's the idea. Now, that was with one box, and I got done, and I had a tiny little L, a medium-sized L, and a big old chungus, okay? All glued together. It's white plastic, which is weird, and it's slick. We're going to see if my primer even sticks to it. I'm not certain. It's also rock hard. So when you're and the sprues are super packed. I had to buy different nippers to cut it because mine were too thick to even fit in the slots. Rampart Terrain. I'm not saying don't buy it, but I'm saying you better be ready to do a project. Now,
I hate myself for being so juvenile, but dude. They probably hate me right now wherever they're listening to me. Just
now,
I'm so dumb.
I ended up with those 3 things all put together.
Yeah,
and they look pretty good. And it's got bits to decorate, because you end up with all these visible holes all over the place, and so they give you torches and sconces and gargoyles and just stuff to plug the holes, which is neat.
Ooh.
And there's tons of those
Gargoyles.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty dope.
yeah, so it's the Eternal Cathedral set.
I have to check that out.
It's neat. But I still ended up with a literal cereal bowl full of extra parts.
Okay.
So my plan for the other box is to build as many smaller L's as I can put together
To do stuff.
to just do stuff.
Yeah.
So I have this one giant one. It's a little oversized, but I think it'll be really good. And then, I'll be able to have it look in all kinds of ways. I'm going to paint it up. I think I'm going to try to do some oil wash, like some streaky grime, maybe even put my mask on.
God,
And
that streaking grime it's great.
Well, I think I'm going to make it out of oil paints and mineral spirits.
Oh.
And then wipe it after it's all primed.
Nice.
I'm also going to do another thing where instead of doing like a black to white sort of gradient zenithal from dark to light, from dark at the bottom, light at the top, I'm going to flip it, because it occurred to me that we always do it that way, where things get lighter as they go high, because that's like
that's how light
theoretically
works,
where the light shines. However, all our minis are down at the ground level.
Yeah.
And then when we put our cameras down to get those nice dynamic shots, you just end up seeing this dark bunch of lower part of the terrain.
You have a point, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to do it the other way, and I'm going to tell people, because I doubt that the effect will sell as well as I want. But I'm going to say that they disappear into the fog in the night, as you look up.
Okay.
But I think it'll look good in pictures, and it's all going to be streaky grime, and it's going to have some, maybe metallic dry brush on some of the stuff like that, and just,
Stay tuned on our X page for pictures.
Yes. I also did a non-metallic metal.
Yes. Today is Whip Wednesday. Happy Whip Wednesday to you guys. Clap, 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 clap.
Except this is going to come out on Friday.
On Friday, yes. And to this Whip Wednesday, which is, February 7th, we have posted all Shane's photos of Star Wars Shatterpoint figures and the Judge Dredd I Am the Law pack.
Well,
and you did your first non-metallic metal mini.
I did. I did some NMM.
So what is that character called, by the way?
So that's Mean Angel. Mean
Angel, yeah.
Yep. If you guys remember the Stallone movie, he's the guy.
Cyborg hillbilly.
Yeah, he's a cyborg hillbilly guy with one mechanical arm.
Yep.
And a dial on his head.
Really cool.
And he comes with the Villains of Mega City or something.
You did
pack.
a good job.
It does sell as non-metallic metal. Now, those minis are very small, and he doesn't have a lot going on. However, I do consider him to be the highest technical proficient mini that I've ever painted.
Maybe someday he'll be mid-tier.
Yeah, maybe someday I'll not be just broke boy sadness.
Get on my level.
Get on my level. What did you do in the hobby? Because I could continue, but that's probably enough.
I did quite a bit. Let's see. I played a game against our local Ultramarine player. Shout out to the homie Cody. You can find pictures up on our X page. Lost by 10 points, but I killed the fabled hero Uriel Ventress and the chapter librarian Tigerius. So, pretty dope. Not gonna lie. For those of you who don't know, one has a whole book series about himself, and the other one has been the only psyker to ever commune with the hive mind.
Cody is an ultramarine painting zombie.
Yeah, he does good work, man. They look good.
I think we're going to feature him in a painting episode in the relative future.
Boy, I hope so. We've talked about it. I've also painted up some Mega Knobs, getting ready for our RTT this weekend. They finally came in, got them battle ready standard, and they look good. You saw them before we played.
I'm going to lose.
Yeah, you're definitely going to lose. But I've spent most of the week list building, for the tournament. I'm excited, nervous, but excited. So it's going to be great. You excited?
I don't get nervous as a personality trait, which makes things boring. But no, I didn't do anything to my list. I made it fit for the points changes where I had to I forget what I lost. Yeah. I think I lost my cultist.
Did you?
Yeah. And just to adjust to get to 1995 points. But I've already submitted my list, and my list is not cheesy in the least. I mean, it really isn't.
I got to submit my list.
Mine looks good, though. I've got the Defiler, and I've got the Demon Prince with wings.
Look who's painting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool. Abaddon is there. Harkin's there. It's Hero Hammer with, no Hero Hammer meta detachment.
To hit on the fan side of things, we sent our Chaos Space Marine from McFarlane Toys out to Jawa Bob, one of our fans, and he received it, and it looks dope next to his 3D printed Knight proxy. And he's going to run that thing as a Chaos Knight, by the way.
He seems like a fun guy.
Yeah, he does.
We've had a lot of cool, positive shout-outs from some of the community. And so, it occurred to me as I was driving up to record today that we never give much of a shout-out in the Bits box for your Bits box. And so get on X and add us in your tagging at 40k Fanatics on X. And what's your Instagram handle?
Mine? Oh,
yes.
It's Prime Paint Wall.
Yeah, so when you're posting your whips and your finished paint jobs and your various sundry of things,
tag us. Yeah, that's what I've said to every person I've communicated with. Also, we had a local community member donate some terrain to us.
What?
Yep, he is donating some authentic 40k terrain. Apparently, he is subscribed to the magazine that they do, and he had a bunch of authentic 40k terrain that he's just going to give us if we paint some for him. So, there you go.
You see, that's what I was looking for. The community helping us out. Also, though, it was crazy. I got on eBay looking for this old school terrain.
Here it goes, ladies and gentlemen.
And new on sprue of the old school, Gothic ruin terrains.
Yeah.
$420 to the box.
Ooh, wow.
And I'm thinking, how can this be? Because no one's using it.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Everybody either has it in a box collecting dust because they want the new whatever.
Yeah.
The
nice stuff, yeah.
The chapter approved MDF nonsense. And yet, I knew there had to be some out there. Just
Yeah. And that's basically all it for my Bits box. Lots of social media stuff, lots of stuff, because you guys as fans are awesome, and we look forward to hearing more from you guys. Hit us up in the comments, like our stuff, and let us know how you're doing. We love to see more pictures, and would love to feature them on our stuff. So, you want me to close the Bits box, Shane?
Shut it. Casey,
Is Shane.
what is our topic for today?
Drew Carey. Dark Eldar.
Drew
baby.
who? Drew Carey?
Drew Carey,
Is
yeah.
he still on The Price is Right?
You know, after Bob Barker died, I wondered who would take it over.
Well, he did, and
yeah.
he's quite good at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. One, he's skinny, and he's gray-headed.
We're so stupid. Drew Carey. The
Drew
Dark
Carey.
Eldar, yeah. Which is a very interesting theme for this week in particular. Do you know why?
Because they just got a new detachment, and they're going to win our local RTT?
No.
Oh.
Because this week we are having the new Orc book by Mike Brooks come out. I spent the last 2 weeks reading over his latest book, Warlord. Like 2 or 3 times I've read this book, and it is good. But the new book coming out is called The Big Daka, and it is promised to be great. It is his first book where he will not have any humans at all in this entire book. Not at all. Featuring the big boss knob, Uftak Blackhawk, the Gargant Stomper.
Oof.
Yeah, he is the big, best Bad Moons character that we all love from Brutal Cunning and probably a few other short stories. He is getting a model this week for his book release, and in the book, he is fighting the Drukhari.
Is he going to get rules, or is he just going to be like a proxy?
You know what? I don't know. It's a limited
boss
edition
knob.
model, but he better get his own rules.
You have to have that.
Because I'm a Bad Moons Orc player, and I have no character representation, sir. None. And it's... I'm gonna
We must not have plastic crack expensiveness without representation.
I'm gonna wah in this room right now. I'm so annoyed.
Don't do that, but do tell us about the Drukhari. Where did they come from?
So the Drukhari are members of the members of the Eldar species. See, back in the day, let's go way back to the War in Heaven. So it's up for some debate between people, but the Eldar were made by the Brain Boys, also known as the Old Ones,
Yeah.
to fight in the War in Heaven against the Necrons. After everything was said and done, the Necrons went to sleep, the Orcs started their wars, everything was copacetic for the Eldar to take over and assume the responsibility because, well, the Old Ones were dead. And that is where the Eldar took over. And what people don't know about the Eldar is that they... How should I put this? They like rabbits. They
They are a populous squad.
they are very, very popular with each other. Yes, so Eldar reproduce very quickly. They used to, at least.
I was going to say that
Yeah.
they're somewhat rare now.
Yes. So as they reproduced and filled the galaxy billions of years ago, they took over, and essentially the Orcs and other races were no problem for them. They lived in peace. Their technology advanced. They developed all kinds of crazy stuff, including Wraithbone, which they use for pretty much everything. A psychically connected material that they use in just about everything. It was at this point they spread pretty much throughout the galaxy. And let's see. It's kind of like when... Oh, I know. A basement baby.
A what?
A basement baby.
What is that?
An incel. You know, a person who stays at home after they've graduated from high school and never leave until they're 40.
Why are you attacking our listenership?
I'm attacking you, sir. No, I'm kidding. So they stayed in their mom's basement. They lived there. They had the hot pockets. They had the food provided for them. They had like everything provided for them. Their technology got so advanced. We eventually hit our golden age around this time, right before the Emperor came in. And, well, things were good. We had peace with them. They had peace with us. Everything was just provided. But with that, it breeds laziness.
Weakness.
Excitement. Things that you do for fun to escape. Things like work. For example, 40k. They took it too seriously. We're just escapism 100% of the day. So things started getting out of hand. Drugs, rock and roll, dirty dancing, that whole thing started happening. Footloose town to the max. Yeah, so the Eldar they were doing this on a galaxy-wide scale. Trillions of, probably countless Eldar. I'm not even going to say trillions. Countless Eldar.
So you're saying that countless Eldar
Yes.
were bored and
They were
trying to find some meaning
Yeah.
because they had no toil.
Yes, pretty much.
And so they're just out here.
Idle hands are the devil's plaything
Yeah,
situation.
so they're partying down real hard.
Yeah, they even had slavery, and they enslaved their own people in some cases. Yeah, they were doing drugs hard. You could, and even to this day, you could do like Eldar do drugs. Not Eldar, but Dark Eldar. Sorry about that. They did this on such a ridiculous, hedonistic scale that it threw the warp into turmoil. And at this point, humanity was in its golden age, and we were about to
get wiped out by Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet was about to happen. We fought the Skynet war. We were at peace with the Eldar helped us out a bit. But because the Eldar are such a psychically tuned race, a little way more than humans, they threw the sea of souls into turmoil, and it resulted in a warp storm so big it tore a hole in the fabric of reality called the Eye of Terror. And a new chaos god not only was born, but it woke up the others. Slaanesh, the chaos god, the youngest chaos god of excess, avarice, debauchery. You get that? You get that meme?
No, but I do like my debauchery.
Debauchery was born, and immediately all the Eldar throughout the galaxy, and including the Webway as they were traveling in it, had their souls consumed. Now,
all of them?
Not all of them. Not 100%. Now, you had the ones on the galaxy's edge. They decided to leave. Get away from this because they saw how bad the Eldar were becoming. These are the Craft World Eldar.
Okay, so the Craft World Eldar are Puritan, Quaker type folks.
Actually, that's more of the what are they called? Oh wow, I just thought of them. The hippie Eldar, the Rangers. Man, what are their names that I can't? No one plays them, so I'm not even going to name them. How about that?
That sounds good.
Yeah, we have the Eldar that stayed on their little worlds. They became hippies and rode dinosaurs. But then we had the Craft World Eldar. They rode around on continent-sized ships, and they just said, "We're taking our ball and we're going home. We're good Christian boys. We don't like that stuff."
Yeah, that sounds like the Puritans and the Pilgrims.
So, the
searching out a new world where they could have their purity and their no-funnedness.
All Eldar worlds were immediately emptied. Their lives,
their strange relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
As a society.
Their souls were sucked from their body, ripped apart and eaten by the Chaos God Slaanesh. And to this day, if an Eldar dies, their soul immediately goes straight to Slaanesh. Not to the warp like everybody else's, but straight up to Slaanesh, who eats it.
Eats it.
Like a Ritz cracker.
And so when do they become the Drukhari?
So the Eldar that were in the Webway were somewhat protected. As I've explained, the Webway is sort of a landline subway system the Eldar and the old ones used to use to get around that doesn't rely on the warp. It lies between the warp and reality. Well, the ones that were living in the cities they had in the Webway still kind of got touched by Slaanesh. They were like weren't in Chernobyl, but they were Chernobyl adjacent.
Sure.
They got touched by that Slaanesh
radiation. That energy
yes.
coming from the eye.
And they found that if they kept doing the stuff that they were doing, their bodies would
going buck wild.
Yeah. Their bodies would sustain themselves, stay essentially immortal and young and beautiful. But if they didn't, their bodies would rot and wither, and their souls would be sucked straight into the warp and eaten by Slaanesh.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and there are a few other Eldar factions that were protected, but we're not going to talk about them. So, the Drukhari, or the Dark Eldar as they are now known, are this faction that says, hey, I know we messed up, and we're almost going to go extinct now, so let's just keep doing it.
So they're going to...
Double down.
Yeah, they're going to rock and roll all night and party every day.
If all Eldar factions were at a craps table or or poker table and they were all losing, everyone else would fold, and the Drukhari would just double down while taking a shot and getting their girls to blow on the dice.
So do the Drukhari then all still reside in the Webway?
They do. They live in a big city known as Kamara, which is going to be in the new The Big Daka book. It is essentially like, okay, take New York, take Chicago, take Vegas, right? Now, say you want to go from New York to Vegas. Now, you get to the outer city limit of Vegas, or New York to Vegas, and start your trip. But instead of getting in your car, you take one step and boom, you're in Vegas.
Oh, that'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, you're just it's all just smushed together.
That's how it feels flying first class.
And that is their city, Kamara. Cities within the Webway that have been made by the Eldar a long time ago that are just like kind of like a Space Hulk, but more in a magic-y organized way. They now do awful things to pretty much everyone.
To each other, to anybody they find.
Yeah, it's Game of Thrones up in there, son.
So question. Right now, you're talking about them in the 40k setting currently, right?
Yes.
I thought we couldn't get to the Webway.
You can get to the Webway if you use a Webway gate.
Ah, so you can find a Webway gate. This would be how the Drukhari get here anyway.
Yeah, how any Eldar gets
So
here.
you can chase them back through and ransack.
Think of it like a subway, and you just take a subway gate, but sometimes the subway gate's closed, or maybe it's not there anymore, or
I thought maybe what with their witches and whatnot that they just sort of appeared out of the ground in the way that your demons do, but that's not the case. You're saying?
Nope, they use the Webway mainly and ships.
Wow.
Yeah. So the
sounds very terrestrial.
Exactly.
In the midst of all this insanity.
Yeah, and while they're doing all this hedonistic, crazy stuff, they have kind of sinked lower and lower and lower because the more stuff, the worse stuff they do, and the worse and worse it gets, the more they get bored with it. So they keep having to find worse and worse stuff.
Ooh.
So, and the Drukhari, hey, say you die and you're a Drukhari. You don't want to go to Slaanesh. Say somebody stabs you. Well, sometimes they have their gene smiths, homunculi Eldar, who have like slapped on tons of different bodies and syringes to their bodies. They're essentially immortal and know how to make monstrosities like Dr. Frankenstein. And they'll just clone you up and make a new one, and your soul will go into that. You might feel kind of weird, maybe a little pet cemetery, but you pay the man, and he will keep you from going to Slaanesh.
Yeah. So it's strange because it almost seems like they'd almost want to go to Slaanesh.
Yeah.
By the time that your little...
It's so weird.
By the time your little Eldari soul has been consumed and then reconstituted as a demonette or something, you got to figure that's when the real party starts. But I guess...
well, they still hate
I imagine
Slaanesh.
their selfishness knows no bounds.
Exactly. They just don't want to die. And some people think they're justified, but here's the thing about the Dark Eldar. You do not want to lose to the Dark Eldar. Okay, say an orc fights you. What's he going to do?
He going to crump you.
Now, say a Tyranid fights you. What he going to do?
He going to eat you.
Now, say a Hume fights you. What are you going to do?
Oh, all manner of horrible things.
Probably. But the Drukhari will do much, much worse. They are often known as pirates and raiders. Often, you'll know Eldar for being pretty fast attack, using lots of psychers and stuff. Dark Eldar do it faster, do it harder, and they're a lot squishier. But say a Dark Eldar. I'm going to use this story as an example. So you know the Tau.
I do.
They work with pretty much anyone they can. They offer you peace in exchange for trade or whatever. Well, one time the Drukhari met up with the Tau, who were fighting the Tyranids, and they were like, oh man, we got to fight these guys. Can you help us out? The Drukhari were like, sure thing. We'll help you in exchange for an ambassadorial population. Just delegation to come meet us. One ethereal, some fire warriors, some earth cast, all your dudes. And they said, yeah, no problem. They gave over their guys. And during their next fight with the Tyranids, the Drukhari come in and they save the day with these new units called, I believe they're called Abominates. These giant, drugs-filled, horrible monsters that groaned in agony with every movement that they had.
That they had made out of the bits from the...
Upon further examination, they had taken the Tau delegation and turned them into hulking, Frankenstein-y abominations. Ever living, ever in pain, ever suffering.
How'd the Tau react to this?
Well, they were like, what's up, man? Let's square off, fight. And then when they approached the Dark Eldar ships, they were all holograms. They had already dipped and left. And that is quintessentially what will happen if you ever interact with any of the Dark Eldar. They will raid you, steal people for slaves, turn you in, torture you, do horribly explicit stuff that I can't say because we'll get demonetized in any shape or form for decades, keeping you alive or letting you die and bring you alive because they have advanced technology. And then when they get bored, they'll just turn you into a wall or a hat or a chair. And I mean, you will still be alive. You'll feel everything they've done to your body, but you won't die.
Wild.
Moaning in agony.
How do the quote unquote good Eldari feel about the Drukhari? Are they constantly in conflict, or
they are
not?
very much in conflict. Sometimes they'll work together because, we're the Eldar, we're going extinct. Because apparently, when they caused Slaanesh, they did the deed so much they broke their reproductive system, and the Eldar are essentially going extinct from lack of population. Just wild.
That is wild. But I mean, the Drukhari are like they're irredeemable, are they not?
I mean, everyone thinks so. They're terrible, terrible people. And I'm going to talk to a couple things about their culture. In Kamara, you'll find big, vast gladiatorial coliseums where they will essentially steal populations of other species or whatever they can find, throw them in the coliseum, and watch them fight. They'll show up to a Tyranid invasion, steal some fancy Tyranids, and leave while an Imperial world is getting invaded. That's essentially what's going to happen somewhat of what's going to happen in that new Orc book. Uftak Blackhawk is going to fight in one of those coliseums. And then you've got, I don't know what they would call them, but snifters or cafes where they do drugs, hardcore, like a coffee shop mixed with an opium den, just for fun.
That's neat.
Yeah, and they still have slaves. They still do these crazy experiments. Their leader, Azrabil Vect, the big boy, he is very old. And honestly, he's bored. Because he was around during the fall of the Eldar, when Slaanesh was born.
Wow.
He was a slave who started from the bottom, Slumdog Millionaire style, and now he's here. Leads the Drukhari, but like I said, it's very Game of Thrones style. Get to the top any way you can. Stab people in the back, political assassinations, drugs, framing people, dark deals, stuff like that. And, well, Vect has been at it so long, he's gotten bored. But he's so good at it that no one will mess with him.
Does he have a model?
He does have a model, I believe, and I believe it's very, very old and crappy. I'm going to Google it and send it to you after this. But yeah, Vect is pretty dope. He's just kind of like that super pimp who leads them, and they're all just like, I guess we'll follow him or else we're going to die.
Or else.
Yeah, or else.
It's long been one of the finest leadership tactics.
Pretty much. Don't bite the king unless you kill him.
And so I guess they still have the technology to have all the food and all the resources and all the stuff. Or are they not even sustained by those things any longer?
They still, they have all that stuff, but, if they don't continue to do worse and worse stuff, they will die.
I'm just trying to get a feel for like what this fallen city must look like, because it doesn't sound like they have any infrastructure for
Dark, pointy, and scary.
Right. They don't have any infrastructure anymore for like cooking and cleaning. Like there's no Drukhari trash man. That's not.
I guess
they're past that.
They still have slaves. Just saying.
Oh well, that's that's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoever they can steal.
Oh, I guess I was wrong. I guess Vect does not have a model.
Well,
I'll have to look that up. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Fun fact, if the Imperium wanted to, they could destroy Kamara and wipe out the Dark Eldar.
why don't they?
Well, if they commit all those resources to wiping out the Dark Eldar, well,
it can't get any worse. But that's a conversation for another day.
it's pretty easy to understand. You go after them full tilt, somebody else is going to come at you from the flank.
I mean, you say that, but again, I will point out that it appears that everybody's coming for everybody constantly.
Yeah, but if you commit too many resources to killing the Drukhari or say the Tau, then the orcs are going to come at you and just destroy you.
I suppose.
Terra will be unprotected.
I suppose so.
Yeah. The only ones who've ever gone into Kamara are just small invasions that fight in every now and again and do a little okay, like the orcs, or political assassinations from other Drukhari raiders.
Do the Drukhari ever have the Drukhari ever captured anybody important?
Oh,
because that sounds like
yeah.
the coolest narrative campaign idea ever.
Dude, oh man,
like Tor Garadon's been captured by the Drukhari.
Ooh,
we got to go to
Karmarov? Captain Lysander. That's actually funny. Captain Lysander of the Imperial Fists was captured by the Drukhari and taken to Kamara to fight in their Colosseum.
And then it's like we got to go get him.
I essentially, like, some people rescued him. He got out. He's a model you can play. So yeah,
it's awesome.
It's crazy. And they have their best warriors in there fighting Drukhari witches. You don't want to mess with these ladies because they are bad to the bone. But yeah, that's the Drukhari in a nutshell.
I now know more about the Drukhari.
In a universe of war
and the fallout
and hell, it can always be worse.
Yeah,
and the Drukhari are it.
I now know more about the Drukhari and the fallout of the war in heaven.
Yeah, there you go.
Also,
and I'm summarizing that.
Yeah, sure. Also, the Golden Age and the Dark Age, which we always refer to as the Skynet battle. Mm-hmm. That's because mankind got very technologically automated, and then the Terminators happened.
Yeah. And then we won. And while we were scraping along, Mad Max style, trying to get our stuff together, that's when Slaanesh happened. All the warp storms cut off our technology and travel.
I just want to let the people know, in case they're like, Skynet? What's that?
Men of Iron. So
it's now
Space
time.
Marine segment.
It's time. Casey, it's time for our new Space Marine segment.
Oh boy.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I have information.
Hit me with the information.
Space Marine, Space Marine, Space Marine. Did you know the Imperial Fists are a faction of Space Marines?
Oh my gosh.
We'll see you next week.
No.